All right, so continuing with this particular lab, we want to be able to create this little table right here in our spreadsheet. And the way that this works is we've started with bin 0 for a specific reason. And it's going to come into play when we start calculating our range and also creating our histogram. So the first thing I want to do is that in bin 0, I know that the start is going to be equal to the minimum value that I have from my data set. So I'm going to just go ahead and say equal to and whatever the minimum value is. Now the beginning of bin 1 is going to be equal to that minimum value plus the width of the bin. Now I'm going to use this formula a couple of times, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make my reference to F17 to be an absolute reference. And if you're not familiar with this, just go ahead and hit function key F4 on your keyboard. So that's 34.2, and I'm going to go ahead and continue it all the way down. Now there's a couple things that you need to make sure of. So that first of all, this number here is equal to or less than the minimum. And then the second thing you need to know is that this number here is equal to or greater than that number, the max versus the min. Okay, and if they're not, then you're going to have issues. Okay, so make sure that you pay attention to that. Now I tend to do a little bit of nomenclature here. This range here for each of these is going to be equal to the beginning of bin 0, and then I'm going to concatenate in a little space dash space, and it ends and includes the end of bin 1. All right, and this is going to make sense when I say it includes. Technically, when we look at these ranges here and the way that we're going to create these calculations, what actually occurs in the tool that we're going to use is that we never use the starting number in the calculation of our bins. We tend to use the end of the first bin, or the second number in our set here, as our calculation for our histogram. That's going to make a little bit more sense here in a moment, because the tool that we're going to use is, from this point, I now have 5 ranges of data, and what I really want to do is I want to count all of the data that exists between 31 and 34.2. So here I have 31, I have 33, and it looks like that's about it. So I want to be able to create a small frequency table and show that that has 2, and then I want to put a number here and all that kind of stuff. So let's create that. Now, in order to do that, I want to put a small frequency table. I'm going to put it right here. That is going to have all of these ranges in it. Now, instead of doing that manually, that's just the only automated thing I want you to be able to use. I want you to make use of a tool that's in Excel, and it's part of our data analysis tool pack in Excel. Now, for me, if I go to Data tab and I look up here, that is my data analysis tool pack. And if I click on it, I'll have some options. So, like actually showed up on the other screen. The one that we're going to be interested in here is the histogram. All right. But for a moment, I want to. Some of you may not have data analysis included on your Excel, and the reason is you haven't installed it. So you're going to have to go to File. You'll go to Options. You'll go to Add-ins. At the bottom, it says Excel Add-ins, and you hit Go. And you make sure I've clicked on Analysis Toolpack and Toolpack VBA, and then the Solver add-in. You're going to need a Solver later on in the semester. So go ahead, check those, hit OK, and the Data Analysis Toolpack right up here should be in place. Okay. All right. So click on Data Analysis Toolpack, go to Histogram, and it's going to be asking me for some information. So the first thing it asks for is input range. The input is actually the data set itself. The second is the bin range, and I am going to use these numbers right here. Now notice I did not use 31 because what's going to happen is that Excel is going to assume anything lower than 34.2 is included in the first bin. Right? And then the output range I'm going to click on, and I'm going to just put it right here. You can put it wherever you want, by the way. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to hit OK, and it gives me this little frequency chart. All right. There is a couple things you need to know about this frequency chart. So the first thing you need to know is that where it says more here, actually let me move this up because I want to keep some things consistent. Where it says more here, you need to make sure that this number is 0. If it's more than 0 or any other number than 0, you know that you have an issue with your calculation. The other thing you need to do is select on all of the number counts that you have here and look here at the bottom of your screen in Excel, and it says sum, and it says 14 for me, and that should be equal to the count right here. Okay, those are important aspects to know that your histogram was done correctly, or at least your frequency table. Now, as I mentioned, these could be my bins, but I'm actually going to use this little frequency table here to be able to plot a histogram. So I'm going to copy these particular nomenclature items for the bins, and I'm going to paste them as values here, so I kind of have this little nomenclature in my bins, so that way I know what the width is, etc., etc. So let me, there we go, and I want to center this. Okay. So what happens is what's really happening is says that in the bin 31 to 34.2, there's two values, 34.2 to 37.4. By the way, this does not include 34.2. There is two values, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to simply click on this, go to Insert. I'm going to come up here to Charts, and I'm going to pick a 2D column chart. And now I have part of my, this is actually my histogram. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick layout on a few things. I really want to include, well, actually I can do whatever I prefer. I really want, I might just have to build it from scratch. Yeah, let's just start there. I don't need this. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to say this equals this. And I am going to add a primary vertical chart axis and a primary horizontal, or whatever I selected on before. This one is going to equal the frequency, and this one is going to equal the bin. I bet you some of you right now are probably thinking you didn't know you could do that in Excel. All right, so let's kind of clear up a few things. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this up here to the upper left. By the way, if you don't know this, you can hold down your Alt key in Excel and you can snap objects to the grid, by the way. So if you notice how it kind of like snaps, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing there. I'm holding down my Alt key. And I'm trying to make it so that way this whole thing here kind of fits into like one small rectangle, right? So that was kind of viewable on a screen. Let me make a couple changes. I want that to be bold, I want that to be bold, and I want that to be bold. All right. So that is pretty much my dashboard that I want. And the last thing that I might do is hide the grid lines. All right. So with that, this is the workbook that I'm looking to have. It's very easy to understand, and I can see my histogram off here to the right. So as you go through the assignment, finish up what's required, and that should really help you out with getting the final product. All right. Thank you.